you don't know, we have our guest today, who is the president of VPI, who makes the wonderful turntables that are just awesome. We have Matt Weisfeld.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Matt.
Give
Hey,
you a
Matt.
hand, but you know it's kind of hard.
Matt, just so you know, we have most people muted because what happens is it switches from your screen to whoever's talking. So people are going to send questions via chat when they have them, and I will read them off as they go.
Perfect. And again, guys, I usually am all set with my laptop, and I mean, I've done this a couple of times. No power cord, so we're going a little rugged. Yeah, I took it. I was like, oh, geez. So, but that's okay. Again, it's 2020, and I'm convinced that it's going to become a catchphrase. Hey, how's your day? Not so good. It's a total 2020. You know, I mean, with everything that's been going on.
I'm going to have to use that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, but I'm really excited to be here, guys, and be part of this. Of course, I'd rather have you all physically out in Jersey, which all of you, if you're ever, for whatever reason, you see, I feel like nobody ever wants to go to Jersey. They go to New York, and then they happen to, like, you know, pass through New Jersey, like, oh, VPI's around. Maybe we'll go check them out. So if you all ever accidentally happen to go to Jersey, then we'd love to have you guys all out here. So I actually am in the VPI house. We're actually doing a bit of a demo a little later today in a nice, safe social distancing standpoint. And yeah, I'm just excited to be here and talk to you guys about VPI, about turntables, about and actually, I have to apologize if there was a list of anything. It's been such a chaotic week. I'm just freestyling everything. So I'll, you know, show you some cool stuff, answer any questions about the industry, and talk about what we've been doing in general.
How close are you to Manhattan, Matt?
We're about the way I drive, 30 minutes. The way I drive with my wife and kid in the car, about an hour and 15 minutes.
Sounds good.
Yeah, and so if you guys are ever in the area, we're off of exit 120 on the Parkway. Actually, it's funny. I'm looking through the pictures. I'm seeing a lot of people who I'm used to seeing at the audio shows. So it's good to see you all, and you know, as close of a condition as we can for these times. Yeah. So first, I guess I don't know if there's any specific direction. I mean, I could just roll in general, Greg. But the first thing that I'd say we've been really doing at VPI and focusing on has actually been about COVID-19, as far as doing the PPE gear for the first responders, and really we pivoted. When this year started, it was the weirdest start of the year. Because after the HW40, after everything that happened in 2019, 2020 was projected to be like our best year ever. You know, it's as far as like all around, everything was looking good. And we had things ready. We had marketing things planned. We had this massive launch for Munich planned. And then we did our dealer training. So we like to train our dealers and customers. If anyone's around and, you know, who wants to just learn more about VPI products or in general this industry, we're always good with that. And in February, the end of February, right before the world shut down, we had our dealer training from dealers all across the country. We had one from overseas, and that morning we get the news that the Munich Hi-Fi show is closed or canceled, and we all freak out. It was like and I did a live stream of our dealer dinner, and you could just see that the tension and the fear that was already settling in of, wait, Munich was canceled? This is real. This is bad. I mean, It's one thing when a regional show gets canceled, but when, and I don't know if you guys have ever been to any of these shows, but the largest shows that I've ever been to and seen and representation for VPI and other brands is the Munich Hi-Fi show and the Hong Kong show. And when those shows are gone, it's like, or not happening, that's huge. That's the opportunity for manufacturers to see their international dealer and distributor base. The Munich show, I see all of my European distributors and some of the Asian distributors. And in Hong Kong, every Asian distributor's there. And, you know, you go to a regional show, you're having like a few thousand people. Well, I don't know. Everybody pads the numbers. They say a few thousand. But like the first time I went to the Munich show and I asked, how many people do you think are going to be here? And someone said, about 10,000. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. 10,000 for the weekend? Like, oh, no, 10,000 a day.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. It's actually, it's very overwhelming. My dad, he had gone to the Munich show. I made him because of the 40th. So last year we went out to Munich and I brought him, and he, believe it or not, after 40 years of business, my dad never went to any of the overseas shows. So when he went there, he couldn't believe it. It was overwhelming. And it was overwhelming for me the first time. I had gone the first time about 6 years ago. And the other thing is, we make jokes on the audio forums and everything else about, oh, there's the audiophile. What a nerd or whatever. Not over there. Over in Munich and Hong Kong, we, believe it or not, everyone, we're the cool kids. People were all excited, like, oh my God, that's Matt Weisfeld from VPI. I mean, people were getting too excited, like, whoa, I don't know what's happening here. So it's just, it's really different how the wider view, I feel, that audio and high-end audio is looked at in Munich and in Hong Kong and all. But anyway, going back to the initial point, the morning of our dealer training, where everyone's out here, we get the news that Munich's canceled. I'm of course thinking about my own distributor who just placed a massive order, which never happened because of it. And then slowly things just shut down. The state of New Jersey, which we're located in, there was a massive shutdown of everything. And the Friday before, I had we do a Whiskey Friday. It's apple juice, I swear. So we do something every Friday called Whiskey Friday. And it's not to get trashed or anything like that. It's really exactly what it is, to decompress at the end of the week. We all get together, we have a shot or water if you're not, I just can't believe how much my wife can down even while pregnant. I'm totally kidding. And we had that, and that was an extended Whiskey Friday because I told them flat out, I'm like, guys, I don't know what's going to happen next. We're going to try to stay open. We're going to more than likely be forced to close, and you're just going to keep our fingers crossed. And I told them that if this is a few weeks, that's fine. But if we're going to be closed for a couple of months, I told them all, I said, I can't guarantee we'll be here. And, so it was a really sad Friday. And the next day on Saturday, because we were going to work through the weekend to ship out as much as we could. And my operations manager, Claire, comes in, and she was just like, we're good. And like, what do you mean? And she shows it to me. I read it, and through a loophole, every assembly and manufacturing in New Jersey was allowed to stay open. So then I'm like, oh my God, we're good. Immediately I call up my lawyer, who's also a VPI customer, so he knows exactly what we're doing. And my lawyer's like, yeah, Matt, you guys are good. Keep making turntables. And, so we had the immediate, yay. But then it was like, wait a minute, because this is March. This is the height of COVID. And that's when we had a very serious and very just a real talk amongst my staff. We put in massive safety precautions, as far as wearing a mask, as far as social distancing of being 6 feet apart. We rearranged everybody's workstation, sanitizer everywhere. And then that's when I had that moment of like, guys, you know what? We're lucky. We're open. We're considered essential. Now, of course, music is healing and we can say all other fun stuff, but during a time of this, is music really essential when you have people out there with no supplies, no sanitizer, safety gear in general? And that's when we had the discussion about it, and we kind of agreed. Actually, it was Facebook, and who knows, it could have been someone that's in this group. Someone made a joke on, we have a Facebook group called I Love My VPI Turntable. It's not run by VPI. I'm not an admin. It's by the customers and for the customers. And someone did a post in there saying, well, I can't get any sanitizer. Maybe I'll just use my VPI cleaning machine fluid, and then I'll drink it at the end because this whole world's messed up. There's something silly and funny. And I read it, I laughed, and then I'm like, that's a good point. People can't get sanitizer. Now, the two issues with people making, sanitizer, I don't know what the big business, I have no idea what the issue was with sanitizer. But in general, the problem that people had was they didn't have bottles. They didn't have the alcohol needed. They didn't have all these little components. Well, my wife, who is amazing at with numbers and everything, She literally just ordered 10,000 VPI 16.5 cleaning machine bottles right before all of this. Nothing to do with the pandemic, just usual inventory numbers. So, so we just got in like 10,000 bottles. So we're good on that. And then we just looked into doing it. And the long story short, we start making the sanitizer. Then the hospitals reach out to us, and we continued. But initially, we did it with like the aloe vera and all of that stuff. And I jokingly said that it was like moonshine sanitizer in a bathtub to begin with. And then once the hospitals reached out to us, we were like, this is real. And I did a Facebook post about this, the weirdest experience where an administrator of a hospital reached out to me, and we met in a 7-Eleven parking lot or Quick Check parking lot at like 9 o'clock at night. She's there with her husband. He's standing there looking tough because like she's literally meeting with a turntable guy, a strange guy. And I'm standing on the side of my car. Like, it's like, you got the stuff? I got the stuff. And I had trays of sanitizer. And I'm like, what the is going on here? And then the second she saw the sanitizer, the husband let his guard down. Then we all started talking and we're like, this is crazy. And I said, I can't believe you have to meet with me. This is weird. I told her, like, this feels like a drug deal. So things like that got us even more focused and serious about it. And we got to the point where at VPI, especially March and April, especially, once you hit May, things started to get a little bit better. But March and April, we usually have a Monday meeting. We were having a daily meeting of what chaos is happening today. And I know my guys were drinking and doing other extracurricular stuff more so than usual. And needless to say, I turned an extra bit of a blind eye because we're all freaking out during then. And I come in there and kind of the code was like, if we were doing sanitizers, like, okay, everybody, we're making meth today. And that was the code that, okay, we're doing sanitizer, we're mixing, we're bottling, whatever it was. And then we continued by doing face shields. My guy, Jan is the guy who does the reference line. Avenger tables, Titans. He checks the HW40s. His wife's a nurse. And after that meeting in the parking lot, I said, guys, what else can we do? And then Jan said that his wife's a nurse. They have no face shields. Of course, my first reaction is, why? How come they don't have face shields? She's an emergency room nurse. She's the first person to have a face shield, and nothing. So we took actually it was originally the manual covers. So a while back we did all these manuals with these like thin pieces of plastic, and we looked into it, and that manual cover was actually thicker than the face shield material that they were actually using. So we worked with his wife, and again, long story short, she helped us prototype it. We made face shields, and we started cranking out 100 a day, and just would donate all the stuff we donated. Nothing was for sale or anything. We just put it out there, so we did that, and the world just kept getting weirder and weirder. And then acrylic, because everyone's got well, hey, I'm in a room with a dust cover, so. Yeah, if anyone needed a dust cover, it was probably really difficult the past few months because all acrylic's been being used for face guards and those partitions and things like that. The issue was that people were they were just what's the word for it? They were gouging. They were gouging the prices, so you could still get an intubation box, which is an acrylic box. It actually looks just like a dust cover. So usually intubation box apparently would be about $100 retail. And because of COVID, people were selling them for $500. And yeah, I mean, this stuff bothers me. I get supply and demand. Hey, I mean, we're in business. We have to, you have to keep things open, keep the doors open. But when you have a global crisis, in my humble opinion, that's not the time to go make money. That's the time to step up and do something right.
Right.
So I did a delivery at Riverview Hospital, one of the hospitals here. And all my deliveries were always weird because it was like late at night. I had to go through security. I was like in a hazmat suit because my wife's home pregnant with our child. Yeah. And, I have to give my wife, Jane, a lot of credit because she was so torn. on one hand, she just wanted me to stay home, and like we had a lot of moments where I said, Jane, I can stay home. And frankly, guys, I wanted to stay home. But then at the same time, she was like, no, if you don't do it, who will? So she was mixed emotions. She's like, I'm proud, but I'm also pissed. But I'm not really pissed. I'm more just scared. I love you. Go save the world, but be safe. Put a hazmat suit on, That was just crazy. And this one night I'm there I'm at Riverview Hospital, and this doctor comes down losing his mind and dropping F-bombs and everything. If anyone's ever seen Scrubs, I swear to God, this guy like walked right off of the set of Scrubs, like just losing it because of how, no sleep, no nothing. This is again the height of COVID. And then he was like, you're the guy? I'm like, I guess so. And he was like, they tell me you make effing turntables. Why the F? He's like just going crazy. He's like, he's asking about turntables with the face shield on. And anyway, he's excited. He's appreciative. He's like, you don't know how much we need this. And so I tell him that I'd shake your hand, but COVID. And he's like, fuck it. Takes off his glove, shakes my hand, and then he uses our sanitizer to clean his hand. And I'm like, what just happened? It was like so inspirational and everything. The next day, I got on the phone with all my acrylic, phone calls, emails, because all of the acrylic that's been lost for the past few months because of the guys who thought big, bought up the acrylic, and then gouged the prices. And by the way, Greg, if I'm going into too much weird stuff that's like non-audio, feel free to stop me. I want to say, first of all, I think it's terrific what you've done. It's just really, it's nothing short of miraculous that you were able to be in the right place in the right time, in terms of doing that, because it's definitely, in fact, I've got to say you're unique in letting us know how you've basically said, hey, screw this, how can I help? Which is really, these days, a really great statement and really what I think more people should be doing. One of the questions I guess I would have is, have you, going back into the audio stuff, have you noticed an increase in sales or through this, with more people staying at home? They're not taking vacations, so they've got a lot more extra expendable income to do this sort of thing. Has that been the case? And are you continuing to do this stuff? Are you able to sort of keep enough financially? Are you able to do this pretty effectively and keep everything going over there? Yeah. So now in the beginning, I'd say March, it was like we were just shot because all our dealers closed. Actually, what we did do initially was, because we started selling direct. So we have our own, we've got the, VPI Industries. We also have VPI Industries Direct. And I told all the dealers that we're not doing this to steal from you guys. We're doing this to help you, in the sense that, well, I'll just say it as far as like they get their taste kind of thing, their margin and whatnot. Obviously dealers have margin and whatnot. And so I basically said, guys, actually I got a call from a dealer who was freaking out because he was forced to close, but he had a guy who ordered and bought a prime signature and he couldn't take delivery. He's like, Matt, what do I do? And, he was like, he said that he said some very depressing things about his current situation. Yeah. And I said, you tell him to reach out to me. We got this. We'll drop ship it. We'll ship it right to him. Is there a cartridge? Send us the cartridge. We'll mount the cartridge, yada, yada, yada. And then he was kind of confused because he was just like, well, what do you mean? And I said, I told him that you're not doing your job as a dealer. You're trying to survive. We all need to survive. And so that's what we did with the direct site, where we basically told everybody that if your store is stuck, you can't open or anything, tell your customer to go right off our site, order everything, and then identify who their dealer is. We'll take care of you on the back end. And the other thing is, a lot of companies, us included, usually when there's a situation, companies will offer credit. Because, hey, nobody wants to write a check. Because of the circumstances, I said, you know what, guys, I'm not giving you credit. We're writing checks. So if there's a situation like that, then we did it, we sold it, whatever, and then we would just cut the dealer a check just so they can stay open. And then with sales, after the first couple of weeks, people were staying home, massive increase in accessories. accessories took off like we've never seen before. And then in the midst of it, that's when I'm like, you know what? Let's do a trade-in deal. So we did our trade-in deal with the HW40 feet, where you buy it, it retails for $400, and so we did it where you get the feet for $400, and then when you send back your old feet, we then refund you $200 or $100 depending upon the foot. So accessories in the beginning really went crazy. In the very beginning, this is why HW40 tables are still available. If the world didn't shut down, HW40 Anniversary Edition would have been gone. And we were showing a cool thing to the dealers. There was so many things we had planned for 2020. A speed box, something cool with our, a new ADS, a speed box, a new thing with our phono stage, something with our direct drive technology. But then the world shuts down. And we had, in Asia, we had 50 HW40 sales that were put on hold.
Wow.
There was one guy who he ordered 20. If anyone's from Singapore, they're nuts. He ordered 20 HW40s. He ended up taking 5 of those, but basically all of the orders, if COVID didn't happen, then by probably end of April, all HW40s would have been gone. Instead, what I think happened was after the first month, HW40 took a hit, but then we saw a massive influx of prime signatures. And then I think I was talking to Lyric. One of the stores in New York basically said that, customers still want, people want to get their turntable. A $15,000 table, that's a bit crazy right now. So now it's jumping down to a prime signature, which is at, I don't know the prices. I just run the company. But 6,000 and change.
Yeah.
So yeah, in the beginning, first 3-4 weeks dead. And we were just only doing PPE stuff.
Mhm.
Now, with that, what we did was we put something on our website for donations. And we told everyone what we're doing. And that really blew me away. I had a friend from high school who reached out and said how they wanted to do something and everything. And I mean, she donated like almost $1,000. And I then contacted her and I said, we can't accept this. This is a little too much. And she says, I want to do something. I'm stuck at home. You guys are doing this because the intubation box, I was trying to say before, but the intubation boxes, those things, the prices went up. I put my acrylic suppliers to the feet to the fire. I told them that I know you have purchase orders ahead of mine. Screw them, because they're doing it. I told them I am taking whatever you sell this to me for, I am giving it away to the hospitals. And I'll tell you, I mean, the acrylic cost of the intubation boxes, I think it was like $115, $120. And throughout that, we did a few hundred of those. Wow. And and all of that went straight to hospitals.
Matt, can I just jump in there and ask you a question?
Sure.
How many people work for VPI?
12-ish. It's in the ballpark of 12 people. It's fluctuated. We did unfortunately have to. We ended up losing 4 people in the midst of this. It was more so because of one person chose to retire. They had a heart condition, and when this all hit, I had him work from home, and it just made more sense at that point where he said, you know what, put in my time, thanks for everything, I'm good. Another staff member just didn't, it was CDC reasonings. One of the staff members, he was so freaked out, he kept getting close. I got to the point where I was like, dude, get the away from me. Get out of my bubble. So we unfortunately had to adjust because of that. But so we have about 12 people working for us.
Okay, so as a follow-up question, you mentioned earlier about your accessories taking off, and I'm wondering, do you think, and other retailers have told me the same thing, that they've taken off, but I wonder if that was because of the $1,200 a month stimulus that the individuals got. One, they're sitting at home, and 2, they've got this extra money coming in, and I wonder if that worked back into the economy, i.e. for you, to buy the accessories.
100%, because when
that's what I thought. And I'm really disappointed that it's been cut off, because I think that's keeping a lot of small businesses afloat. And that's too
I
bad.
agree. I agree, because when that stimulus check went through, that's when we saw a peak. And we've got on this direct site, we've got all the analytics, we've got all the numbers and everything. And it was, that's when it was its peak. When that went in, everyone was buying, a lot of it was feet, tone arms, and cartridges. Also, what's funny was I made a mistake on the pricing of one of the tone arms. And then afterwards I realized it, but I used to be a teacher before all of this. And I used to tell my students that if I make a mistake if I make a mistake in your favor, you keep it. If I make a mistake against you, then I'll fix it. So since I made a mistake in the customer's favor, I may have put the wrong number for that 12-inch 3D arm, and so y'all are saving about $500 more than you should be. But hey, it's 2020. You know, it's like I've said to everybody, to me, this isn't the year to gouge, or I mean, we don't gouge anyway, but it's a good year to give back.
Thank you, Matt.
No problem.
Larry has a question here. Is there anything new on the record cleaning side of things coming up at VPI?
Yes, and COVID really messed us up with this one. So the first thing is our wood. We've got a couple of wood suppliers. My guy who did all the 16.5 wood, all the cleaning machine wood, he's out of business. So that's the big hit. We had something in mind for basically, guys, we're bringing the 17 back. So we're bringing the original HW17 back, but with more added things and everything. That was going to be the big announcement. So there you go. I just unofficially announced it for all of you here. Mm-hmm. And then all my supplier, we got lucky in the sense that, well, with COVID, a lot of our suppliers either temporarily closed or closed for good. Now, we got lucky that our big machine shop is located in New Jersey, and he was able to stay open. But going back to the cleaning machine, our main wood guy, he's closed. The motors to do the cleaning machines have been severely delayed. So once the world gets back to normal, the goal was for us to have a cheaper 16.5, or rather go back to like the original pricing of it, and then bring back a version of the HW17 with the pump, the bidirectional motor. And we're still looking into ultrasonic. The issue with ultrasonic is the price. I could get an ultrasonic machine made overseas. Actually, I won't say who, but there are some other brands that get their stuff over from Asia. And man, that the companies they work with have no loyalty, because they reached out to me and were like, we'll drop this guy in a second. Harry Weisfeld, Nat Weisfeld. I'm like, no thanks. I don't want to screw anybody over. And
that's not somebody you want to be dealing with, because if they're willing to do that to somebody else, they're also willing to do that to you.
Exactly. You know, so they already there's a gentleman who makes a cleaning machine. And it's in white and everything. It's got the whole ultrasonic thing. And they reached out to me and said, we could do it in black, and we can this and we can that. And I'm like, I'm good. So theoretically, I could have launched a VPI ultrasonic machine. I mean, that email was last year. That's before COVID. I could have had an ultrasonic VPI machine, which is another person's ultrasonic machine, end of last year. But I don't like this rebadging nonsense, and I'm definitely not going to shaft somebody else over. The other issue, though, is that the ultrasonic capability in the U.S., there was a company we were talking to that looked like they can do it at a cheaper price. Let me rephrase that. We can have an ultrasonic machine for you guys right now. It's going to cost between $4,000 and $5,000, though. Now, I've been told that that's acceptable. That's not acceptable to me. That's a lot of money. I'd rather hit, I'm hearing footsteps. There aren't actually people here getting things set up. The footsteps were coming towards me. So, but anyway, there was a company we were talking to out in the Michigan area. It's been radio silence though since COVID. So there's a bunch of projects that have kind of been MIA because of everything. And so perfect world. Forgetting about COVID, if there was no COVID, VPI's plans were to release a more affordable HW 16.5, re-release the 17 and whatever branding name we'd call it, and release some form of ultrasonic machine. Now, because of this past year, who the heck knows when that's all happening?
Quick, Don Naples has a quick question in terms of ultrasonic cleaning, and that is what frequency are you looking at doing? He says the common is 40 kilohertz. He's using one that he sort of did himself that's 60 kilohertz, and the best is 80 kilohertz, but that's more expensive in terms of the vibration.
Tell you what, gang, I'm going to show you what Harry does. Now, actually, what's really good is what he does in his home. Hey, guys. So what we suggest, this is the one that my dad uses. And honestly, gang, I'm not all that versed on this stuff as far as the ultrasonic side. So this is the unit that he uses. This one is made overseas. These guys are really cool, actually. They were very nice. This isn't the company I was talking about before. This is just a company that would, they would be thrilled to work with us. It's called iSonic. Yeah, I'm honestly not sure about the frequency, but this is the one that he uses. And what we recommend as far as the best cleaning is, and what he does is he cleans it on the Cyclone or 16.5. So a vacuum clean, then an ultrasonic clean, then right back to the vacuum. So that's what we've found to be the best cleaning. And as far as the different kilohertz and everything else, I'm just not sure. I'm not sure what we've been looking into with that. Whatever the iSonic one is, you guys could check out. That's the one that my dad has been favoring. I just went to hit my laptop to go look it up, forgetting that it's dead. So, but if you guys do a little search on iSonic, ultrasonic machine, that's the and the specs on that. That's what we've been kind of trying to do our own way, but made in America.
Cool. Next question from Larry, who asks, what are your preferences between the unipivot and gimbal tone arms?
Funny you asked that, because I used to be a hardcore unipivot guy. I still kind of am, but I am falling in love with the gimbal. Main reason, usability. So when the world's not shut down and we have audio shows, a lot of people use VPI at the shows. And I guess it was, last year's Expona, there was about 20 VPIs, and most of them were gimbals. It is so much easier to mount a gimbal. It's easier to use a gimbal. 9 times out of 10, when another manufacturer or somebody is borrowing a VPI with a unipivot, there's a good, I shouldn't say 9 times out of 10, that's high, but there's a 50-50 chance they're going to wipe my cartridge, because we usually provide a cartridge as well and make sure everybody's good. Mm-hmm. So with the gimbal, though, actually, I don't think anyone's wiped the cartridge, knock on wood. No one has wiped a borrowed cartridge using a gimbal. Now, from the sonic standpoint, and this is me, so I know this is where it gets like, we have the measurements, we have all that stuff, but then from the actual listening experience, I find that the unipivot, it's a little better with the detail. It tracks a little better. Like, you get the human voice in the inner groove, and you get a little bit more of that detailed, natural, like female voice, for example, and maybe a little bit more dynamics. Yet with the gimbal, I find it to be a little sweeter, wider sound stage, and I like the mid-range better on the gimbal. But what really does it for me is I feel like I can dial it in better on the gimbal. Between setting of the azimuth, between all those fine adjustments in general. Now, on all VPI tables, at the moment, wink, wink, all VPI tables are standard being unipivot. But you can request to get a gimbal at no additional cost. There may or may not be a switch with that, because what we gauge it off of what the consumer is looking for. If the special request is outweighing the standard, it's not special. The special request is the standard, then we'll flip it. So you may all be seeing a bit of a flip in the near future. What I do like about the unipivot, though, also, as far as just as the variation, it is easier to swap arms when dealing with the unipivot. And I had a moment, I swear, I used to give my dad a hard time when he was having a hardcore audiophile listening experience, and I did it. I was listening I was comparing a Vanden Hole cartridge to a Kaseki Purple Heart, and I had both of them mounted. I'm switching back and forth and doing all of this. Then this is where I started going down the rabbit hole. Then I pulled out a Miwajima. Then I had to try different arm wands. And then before I knew it, it was like an hour and a half later, I've gone through multiple cartridges and arms, and I'm like, oh my God, I just became my dad. So it's very nice though, as far as like when you're demoing cartridges or you want to do a quick switch to do that. You can change, at least for our gimbal, you can change pretty quick as well. But Sonic Signature, Unipivot to me, I find more detailed, a little more dynamic, female vocals. It's, you know, and then with the gimbal, it's a warmer, sweeter, better mid-range, but they're both doing, you know, it's 6 to 1/2 dozen another red wine versus white wine.
Yeah. Do your arms use the same basic mounting template, or are they different?
Oh yeah, the same actually.
So in other words, you could swap one of them for the other fairly easily?
Correct. Back out into the world. Oh, and unrelated, the people I have visiting here is actually Wolf Audio. Joe, say hi.
Hey, everybody.
And
San
that's
Francisco Audiophile Society.
yeah. So we're doing they're getting things set over here. But anyway, so back to the arms. So if you look here, this is a Fat Boy gimbal arm. Yes, it's on a Tannoy memory speaker. Maybe not the best thing to hold one's arm, but it's what we got here. So it's all the same in the sense that you just, I don't know if hold on, can I flip my camera? Let me see that. Bear with me 1 second, gang. I want to see if I can just, oh, I can. Okay, here we go. That's easier. So from the VPI standpoint, you have a gimbal. All you have to do is you loosen this set screw, and in some cases there's a nut in this specific arm. There's a nut. So you loosen the set screw, you loosen the nut, pops right out, and then you drop your unipivot right in. So the math is all the same. We have our 12, our 10, our 9. But we also have custom lengths as well. We don't really talk about or do that too often, especially because of COVID times. But that's the kind of thing where if you have, I mean, some people just don't like our turntables. That's fine. Maybe they like our arms and they want to do something to make it fit. And vice versa. Some people like our tables and don't like our arms. That's why we try to be as versatile as possible. And what actually started, this is kind of interesting, the original start of us doing a gimbal arm, it was alcohol, a little bit. About 10 years ago, I think it was, we were having a listening session, just family, my dad, myself, and maybe one too many bottles of red wine. And my dad goes to queue up his Classic 4 with Unipivot arm with a Lyra Atlas. So again, Lyra Atlas, $10,000 cartridge. And because of the spirits, his hand missed. And the arm went flying right across, and he caught it. But in that moment, it's like, God damn it, Unipivots, blah, blah, blah. That's it. I'm done with this arm. And it was just one of those, I jokingly say that if you're going to enjoy spirits often or whatnot, then maybe a gimbal is more your flavor.
Makes a lot of sense. I have a friend of mine who lunched a Koetsu Urushi Vermilion in a similar manner. Next question is from Larry, is different Larry this time. Is there any further direct drive models in the works on the less expensive end?
Yes, that is something that we've been looking into. We have a lot of goals and whatnot. I'm tap dancing, but basically we're because of COVID, everything that we thought we'd accomplish this year, let's just add 1 year. So maybe by the end of 2021, hopefully we'll be having something that makes a little bit more financial sense. Direct drive technology to do it properly is still expensive, but $15,000 is a heavy duty nugget. And I feel that the strength of VPI has always been that bang for the buck turntable, that we've always accelerated at having that less expensive table that sounds like the more expensive. And that's what we really do want to shoot for again with our direct drive technology of having that, of having a more affordable, more, again, I said before how I used to be a teacher. So I always gauge it off of that. Can I afford this on a teacher salary? So that's kind of what we like to try to have, and we hope to have with our direct drive technology. And I think we will, just a little delayed, thanks COVID, and we'll go from there.
Fantastic. When you say that you were talking about your accessories have increased, you're saying it was mainly the feet. Is there any other ones that were flying off the shelves? Cleaning
so the feet, actually I have an ADS here. This guy was going pretty well. And on top of it is the power supply of a Modrite. I'm currently in like a bit of they just did a little thing for me yesterday, TD Bank, and they took all my, I am still afraid to look in that box filled with Nordos expensive cable and whatnot. They because of the PPE stuff, they did a little surprise presentation. I knew they were doing it, and I was freaking out because like, oh, what was your first thought when you walked in? Of course, I said something nice, but my actual thought was, God, I hope they didn't break the cartridge. So, but going back to your question, the feet really went crazy. Tone arm upgrades, ADSs, our speed box, the phono cable. We actually launched a phono cable that I thought I had with me. We launched a phono cable in partnership with Nordos called the Weiss line.
Mm-hmm.
Weisfeld. Weiss is in white. It's a combo of Nordos technology with what we like as well. So that was really selling nicely. I believe that guy's priced at $600 or $700 range. So that's been going. What else? Yeah, mainly the feet, the phono cable, the ADS, and then tone arm upgrades.
Yeah. And do you use their wiring throughout most of the arms and that sort of thing, or do you have?
Yes, reference level, prime signature on up is all Nordos cable. Now, when it comes to cable for us, I stay away from those conversations. I will sit there with popcorn and like read those threads where people go nuts about cable. We stay away from all of that. And you know what? Nordos knows I say this. Their stuff's expensive, but I know nothing about what it actually takes to make it. And with all these brands, I don't make any decisions or anything based off of that. What we do with anything we partner with, you got to come here. We have to set it up in our listening room, our set control environment, and then we listen. Because this was a bit of a wacky move I made. When I first started, I actually nixed the Nordos cable. I hated the silver cable. I don't know if anybody in here owns a VPI with silver cable or anything else with silver cable. For me, I find silver cable to be very bright and almost like ripping your ear off. Mm-hmm. It's detailed. I got to give it, silver cable to me, it's got that detail sound, but if it's bright and it's going to make my ears bleed, I listen to music to enjoy. I don't listen to music for that analytical, like, oh, my ears are bleeding, but I heard that violin. No, that's not for me. So we ended up getting rid of the Nordos cable. And then we were going with, I won't say the brand because we were working with this brand because it had pure copper. In the later years, as things were happening with that company, we found that our cheap copper was more pure than their deluxe copper. Ooh. So then we nixed that. And in the midst of this, Nordos came back and they're like, Matt, how do we get, actually not just them, a lot of companies have said, Matt, how do we get our cable into your tone arm? And I tell them, guys, it's easy. Like, they think there's allegiances and that there's political BS. No, it's none of that. I tell them all the same thing. Prove it to me. Make me a believer. Give me that, whoa, that was good. And then we can talk. So they actually came down. They drove down, Joe Reynolds and Michael Taylor from Nordos. They drove down and we wired the arm with some cable. And that's all we did. We didn't get involved with their power cords. I think at the time the system was all wired up with AudioQuest And I like teased him. I was like, hey, don't be mad. You know, it's not your cable. And we went to go listen, and we listened to our cable. We listened to their cable. Then we did a couple of blind tests, and every time the Nordox cable sounded better. It had the detail of the silver cable, but they got rid of the brightness. It wasn't bright. It wasn't obnoxious. It was just right. And that's when it hit it. And that's like, okay, we got something here. And it became the new wire for the reference.
Thank you. That sounds like a great way of doing it. I mean, people should prove what they're saying is true. And
Yeah.
It sounds like you have an understanding of that. Let's see. Larry asks, can you talk about anti-skating some? There are some differing views on how VPI represents how to manage anti-skating.
So if anybody really wants a treat, you should go to our forum, and there's just this like venomous thread. Actually, no, I removed the venomous thread to the point where people just like, well, you're a mental midget. Like, it was weird stuff.
Yeah.
And guys, I can't believe how intense, and I apologize if any of you are in this group, I just can't believe how intense people get about anti-skate. Here's where we stand with it. We don't believe in anti-skate, but if you're going to need anti-skate, we feel you need it for the shorter arms, whether it's a VPI or other, because the longer the arm, the less tracking distortion. The less tracking distortion, the less need for that anti-skate or any issue with it, because you're getting closer to that original cut of the groove. And one thing that kind of bothers us, if there's any reviewers in here, I apologize. I'm about to poke at you guys. If my dad was here, he would just like go off about reviewers. But we did a listening event with a reviewer. He's sitting there, and long story short, no anti-skate. And my dad took the cartridge and cocked it so it was straight, no offset angle. And we listened. And he didn't tell it. My dad's like, oh, I'm going to change something. And they're listening. And this reviewer who's written all about how you have to have anti-skate, you have to have this. Oh, my God. Harry, what did you do? It's so amazing. This guy loses it. He's thinking my dad changed the VTA.
Mm-hmm.
And then after he ate his foot enough, that's when my dad said, I disconnected the anti-skate and I cocked the cartridge to be straight with no offset. Oh, it doesn't work. No, it's no good. No good at all. So we feel that you all should experiment the best that you can to make your listening experience fruitful yourself. That's my half BS answer of like, well, you know what I mean. As long as you're happy with your listening experience with it. I never listen with my anti-skate on. At the shows, I never set it up. I have a Prime Scout over there. I can see right from here. Oh, you're gonna love this. The anti-skate mechanism's not even there.
No.
So, now, that also being said, we have found that some cartridges are different. I would say that, like with Peter Letterman, with his cartridges, he finds that you need the anti-skate, and I would say go with what he's saying for it because of like every cartridge is different. That's the other thing. Some cartridges are more robust or not or whatnot, and the tracking, like Ben's Micros. Ben's Micro is the only cartridge we ever have an issue with on a magnetism level with our periphery ring. If you have a Ben's Micro, more than likely you will have an issue with our ring. Any other cartridge? No. And I mentioned that in the sense of anti-skate and everything, and how I would say that be it anti-skate or any other recommendations, go off of the cartridge manufacturer of what they recommend, and then just give that a whirl first. If you don't like it or you want to experiment, disengage it. See what you like better, and go for the sound.
Well, also, I remember a friend of mine had what was it? It was one of the old TNTs with I believe it was a 12-inch JMW arm. And at that time, they believed that twisting the cable of the Limo connector would give you some of those. But the problem that I always found was that it threw off the azimuth of the arm because it twists enough that the arm kind of tilted over so you had to adjust that a little bit. Is that,
Yeah.
there's no truth to that actually being the design, or is that just something that people came up with?
Oh, I think my dad kind of just came up with it in the moment because of the fact that in the beginning, so here's the thing. We never planned on making tone arms. My dad was very happy making the HW19, but when he made the TNT and we get into all high-end stuff and everything, that's when things changed because then we were dealing with, Graham tone arms, Souther, I believe, all sorts of things like that. And so the issue that we had, when I say we, I mean I wasn't even born at this point. So, or if I was alive, I was like in middle school or grade or whatever. The issue that my dad had was he couldn't get the arms, and I won't say who, but he was talking to a specific high-end tone arm manufacturer, and he said, "Hey, I'm losing orders. How do I get an arm?" And then the individual said to him that if you don't, you just have to wait. If you don't, and now I'm quoting, if you don't like it, make your own fucking tone arm. I'm sorry, I apologize about the language. I feel like you all don't mind. Well, sure enough, my dad listened and he made his own tone arm. So that's why with anti-skate, with the wire loop and everything else, I do feel like a lot of it was initially just learning. Well, the HW19, for example, you have the HW19 Mark 1, 2, 3, and 4, then the Junior. And I asked my dad, like, Dad, why all the different versions? And he was, well, I was learning how to make a turntable. So he made the original one, then he learned how to make it better. So then you have the Mark 2. And I said, well, Dad, I mean, that's kind of a little weird. You're learning how to make a turntable and people are buying it. And he was just like, well, yeah, but it's all backwards compatible. And well, that's why we've always been about upgrades. Because in the day of my dad, he made an HW19. It was a very good table. He learned how to make it better. No problem. You have a 19 Mark 1 and you want a Mark 2, you can get the upgrade and just put it in. So as we learn and improve, and still today, like we didn't have a Fat Boy tone arm 5 years ago. Yeah. Now we do. The Fat Boy tone arm is the best tone arm we've ever made. And you can drop it on every VPI arm base that we've ever sold.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Let's see here. Well, David Hicks has a question regarding you being a teacher. How did you decide you wanted to join the family business, so to speak? And the follow-up question is, what was it like growing up in the VPI family, so to speak?
Dave, that is a great question because, first I'm actually going to kind of answer that second question first, because when I was in Thailand about 2 years ago, I was sitting on a panel and I got the worst unexpected question because they asked almost your question, but in a different way. Like, so Matt, what was it like? And again, I'm in Thailand with a filled room and there's a massive language barrier. And the person asked me, what was it like growing up in a family with a dying business? I had a bit of like fuck you. That was my actual thought. And I'm like, no, Matt, they're recording this, be politically correct. But then I thought for a second, I'm like, actually, that is an interesting question. So I got to tell you, everybody, growing up in VPI, well, the first thing was I was the weird kid who knew how to do it. I could play a record for you, but I had no idea how to operate an MP3 player. So I was reversed. I was like the old soul because my dad always had me in here. I do this with my daughter also. I know we're all worried about our gear and everything else, but I love when people get to feel it, touch it, use it, and get comfortable with it, because then they're going to want to listen more. My dad did that with me. He would let me cue up a record. I broke some cartridges, and he really loves me because he didn't kill me, but we won't talk about that. But growing up in that house, I fell asleep to my dad playing Belafonte on the album, or Wagon Wheels, and all these other like classic hits that, I almost had to hear my dad playing music for me to fall asleep, and it was always a record. And if I couldn't sleep, I'd get up, walk out, and head to the listening room was right down the hall for me, and I'd get in there, hop on my dad's lap, and listen to music. It was part of my upbringing and culture. I loved it. Music, I mean, I played the piano. I say I played the guitar, but I never played it well. But I mean, I played all these instruments and everything, and I think a lot of it was because of dealing with that, or being a part of that. When I was younger, I didn't really like going to the factory, but it was part of it. I would go and everything, and I would put things together. Anyone who has an HW19, I made that isolator. I didn't know what the hell it was, but it was busy work to keep me from doing stuff. And then as I grew up, my mom and dad really helped me with having a good work ethic, because they didn't pay me, but they gave me a company card. But the company card I can only use for gas. And, if I go out to eat or something like that. So it's a nice trade-off. I didn't get paid, but, I wasn't even driving yet. So it was really just like that, if I went out with a girl or something, and there was this one moment, I go out with this girl. So first I'll say that I didn't go to work that week. I was, 17, 18. I was being a smart ass kid. And I had to make 10 dual motor flywheel motors. I didn't. And I remember it was a Wednesday night. I'm out with this girl. And of course I'm being a bit arrogant about, like, oh yeah, that's right, we got the company card. I'm trying to be impressive to this girl. And the next thing you know, the waitress comes back and the card doesn't go through. So I tell the girl, like, oh, don't worry about it, baby. Let me go call and yell at the bank, or whatever I was saying. And I'm walking away, I'm like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. I call up my mom. I'm like, Mom, I have a problem. The card doesn't work. My mom says, oh, well, apparently neither does my son. She killed the card because I didn't go in for work. And in that moment, like, I got it. Fortunately, I had enough cash on me, and so I went back, and the girl was so confused because we're having a great date, everything was fine, and then right there, I paid everything else, and then I took her home, and she's like, "Wait, we're going home?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I have to take care of something." And I remember I got to the factory about 8:00 at night. So I mean, it's 8:00 at night. I ended the date, so clearly it's like, and so I go back to the factory, and I at 8:00 at night, and I stayed until I made all 10 of those dual motor flywheels. I went the extra step, tested them, and had them with turntables, and I'm like, damn it, Mom's right. This is all my fault. And so that was really one of those cool things, and a nice thing of like growing up in the family business.
Yeah.
And now I have to apologize since I answered that first question. I don't remember the second part of the question. What was the first part of the question again?
Well, the first one was, what led you to move from being a teacher to going and join the company?
That was a weird one because I really found what I loved. Guys, I love teaching. Love it. I taught in high school. I taught at Homedale High School. I taught web design, animation, and 3D modeling. I taught martial arts. I still do, actually. That's a whole other thing. I was teaching at Brookdale College. I was teaching at Monmouth College. I was set. I had a comfortable, steady life. After my mom died, well, actually before she had died, when she was getting sick, I started to help a lot more at the factory. And as I was getting involved, I felt it more. I felt that responsibility. I felt what my mom and dad put in. And then the big thing that did it was CES. So my mom knew she was dying. We just got product of the year for the Classic 3. So you can look back at the timing of all this stuff and the reviews and the show reports. So it's the beginning of 2012. My mom died at the end of 2011. I was supposed to go to that CES show with Mom. She wanted to say goodbye to her friends, and I was going to be the seeing eye dog to help her get through since she had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Mm-hmm. My mom ends up dying a few weeks before. Now, my dad assumes that's it. I mean, he had 2 companies looking to buy us. Actually, and I totally get where my dad was coming from. He was ready to sell VPI. That was it. 2 companies were offering big money. And my dad and I got into a lot of fights in the beginning because here I was trying to hold on. My dad's like, come on. I just fought through cancer the past 6 months. Watched the woman I love, all that stuff. And he said, just be a teacher. Let me sell VPI and you never have to worry about it. Just be a teacher. And when I went to CES, I met John Atkinson of Stereophile. I met Stephen Mejias. And John, he shakes my hand and just assumes I'm doing this. Shakes my hand. She's like, Matt, this is so great what you're doing for the industry. Your mother would be so proud. I'm like, oh my God, I mean, I don't even know what I'm doing. And the other thing, this really got me. And again, I'm still in shock. My mom just died, and it was brutal. And I will tell you, any picture you see of me on Facebook, on show reports, if I'm wearing a 3-piece suit, I'm completely full of it. I had no idea what I was doing at that point. The 3-piece suit was my armor because I was freaking out. I was like, well, let me at least look professional so people think I know what I'm doing. And there I was in my 3-piece suit. I go up to the person at CES telling her, hey, I don't really know what I'm doing. I have this award thing, X, Y, and Z. And I told him, like, I don't even know if we paid for it. And I said, my name's Matt Weisfeld. And this stranger said, oh my God, you're Sheila's son. Don't worry. And this stranger just took care of me. And it really got me. You know, she got me the pass. She gave me a map. She walked me around. And I'm still like, and I wish I was a little bit more with it at that moment, because I don't even know who this person was to this day now. Mm-hmm. And it was like that moment of, because of my mom, you know, in the relationship, that it was without question. She just took care of me. So between that and between John, and the other big one was my Hong Kong distributor, this guy, Ernest Lau. He had a lunch with me in Vegas, and I told all the distributors, guys, you do not have to meet with me. I'm just the kid. I don't know what I'm doing. And everybody kept the appointment. And everyone, especially Ernest, he was just like, you know, his deep voice was just like, Matt, you will make mistake. You will have problem. You will this, you will that. You will fall. You will fail. We will be waiting. We will be ready to. And I was just like, oh my God. I'm getting like a little choked up just talking about it. I mean, the dedication and passion and just the drive, that's when I knew I had to keep VPI going. So I love teaching. I didn't want to leave it. I tried to do both, but then that's when I found when I was doing both were suffering. My classroom was suffering and VPI was suffering. And eventually I made the decision to go all out for VPI, because there's no reason why there can't still be a classroom. Like I do the dealer training. Like when I do it, when I'm at an audio show or doing a listening event, I hate the sales pitches and the salesmen. I like education, educating people about why we do X, Y, and Z, why something sounds the way it does. And I love that. And the other nice thing is recently I got back into the martial arts, so I'm still teaching that. Actually, this morning I was, I think I know where my laptop power cord is. I think it's at the martial arts school, since we've been doing Zoom classes as well. So, but this morning, you know, went in, taught 2 classes of martial arts with, you know, safety, social distancing and everything. But that's what led to the changeover from teaching to VPI. I couldn't let the company go. And my dad and I got into a lot of fights and a little bit of Jewish guilt. I told my dad, I was like, Dad, if we sell the company, we might as well dig up Mom and kill her again. Really hit hard.
Ooh, brutal.
That was bad, but you know, it was it did the trick, you know. And he didn't even realize I was that interested in, because my mom did everything she could to keep me out of this business, and I understand now why. Just because of the pressure, because of, well, you know, you have a 9-to-5 job and then you get to go home. Mm-hmm. When you run a company, it's not 9 to 5. I mean, I'll get a message from Singapore at 3 a.m, and you know, of course I'm going to talk to them. You know, whatever it is. Like I try to always be on call. Actually, I tell everybody. I mean, as long as you're not calling me at 2 a.m. just to say, hey, what's up? You know, if something's up, give me a call. If I'm around, I'll always take care of it, or try to at least. So you're always on call.
Fantastic. I think it's great that you found sort of outlets for, you know, doing the teaching stuff as well as running the company. I mean, that's, you know, that's the stuff that keeps you sane.
Yes. And that's really what happened, because, I mean, I'm full blown back into the whole martial arts thing again. And you might be seeing some more wacky pictures of me on Facebook if you haven't already. Yeah. Oh man, it's been very interesting. So and I like the idea of doing the dealer training, because I think that for all of you, if you go into a store and the dealer has no idea what they're talking about, forget whether you want it or not. Just gonna be annoying. It's like, oh, come on, man. I know more about this product than you. And I like doing that, like where we have the dealers come out, and what we do for dealer training and in general training for anybody, we have them build a Prime Scout. You build a Prime Scout, then we have them upgrade a Prime Scout to a Prime. Then we throw scenarios. Like a scenario will be like, I just got this 10-inch arm off of eBay. How do I put it on my 9-inch base? And we teach the dealers how to do it.
Yeah. I've actually, my friend Oz posted photographs of one of those, about 40 of them. And it really is amazing to see what you went through in terms of the setup. I mean, there's rows of the tables and a different deal in every one of them. It was just fantastic to see how you guys do that.
Yeah. No, it's great.
So next,
we make our dealer training a 3-day event. On the Friday, that's another thing. I mean, when I did the martial arts, one of the cool things I got from that was they really showed appreciation for like the different teachers, competitors, things like that. They did award dinners, and it's that reminder of, hey, you did good. You really helped out. So we started doing that as well. So it wasn't just about coming in for training. It's a 3-day thing where on Friday they come out and we feed them, do a nice little dinner, and because like Oz has gotten like the Unsung Hero Award. He's gotten like all sorts of things like that. And it's not like a participation award. It's actually based off of what they've done to show appreciation of, hey, I see what you're doing. You're doing good by the customer. You're doing right by us. Thank you.
Yeah,
so
he's a really good guy.
Yes. I was actually talking to him on the phone yesterday. I had to run because so TD Bank did this whole video about us doing the PPE gear. And then Oz is just such a pleasure of a guy.
Yeah. I've known him for about 20 years or so through the old Phonogram news list, and then now there's a web he's done. So next question. It sounds like all your product lines are made in the U.S. Do you manufacture everything in the U.S. or is there anything manufactured abroad?
Oh, it's pretty much all here. So when we got involved with Shinola, we did an audit of ourselves just to make sure, and we were in like the mid 90 percentile, to the point where the guy who did it was like, you can get some stuff made overseas. I'm like, we're good. I like having that wiggle room. Now things are always changing as far as what you need or not, but for the most part, I mean, like the VPI platter, that's machined 30 minutes away from the factory. The arm bases 30 minutes away. Actually, due to COVID, before COVID, we had 4 machine shops. One in Keyport, which is literally 5 minutes away from my factory. One in Pennsylvania. 2 in Pennsylvania. One's like on the border of New Jersey and Pennsylvania. And then the 4th one, our big one, is in Lakewood, which is about 30 minutes away. So that's our machined aluminum. That's our arm bases. That's our acrylic, our feet, the motor housings. Then the motors themselves. So some of you may remember we used to use a 600 RPM motor. Back in the day, Hurst used to make their 600 and 300 RPM motors in Mexico, which was deemed okay. It was close enough to America. Yeah. Apparently, about 15 years ago, the arm of the factory for Hurst that was making the 300 RPM motor moved back into America, and my mom and dad missed it. They just had no idea. Wow. So when we did this whole audit thing, I called up Hurst, and I was like, hey, guys, just want to double check. Do you mean made in America or assembled in America? And then I got the whole story about, apparently, it was 2 brothers. I'm getting this wrong, but there's like Primatech and Hurst and I don't know. But there was 2 brothers or friends or something like that, and they had a split, and one was in America, one was in Mexico, and the long story short is our 300 RPM motor got brought back to America. That's right around the time that we had launched the Prime Scout, and that's when we decided, you know what, all 300 RPM. So Prime Scout on up, the upgrade's already there then, since, made in America motor. So that's made in America. Now, things like the screws, I mean, we get the screws from McMaster, or Shallcross, so they're just screws. I don't know where the heck they actually come from, though. So And the other thing, which I happen to have one here, our Shyla cartridge. This guy is made in Japan. So this has been an exciting project. We've been trying to get that focused, but well, that's okay. You guys may have heard about this guy. This is going to be fully available by November. And guys, I tried so hard. I mean, I went to every manufacturer of cartridges you can think of. First the American ones, then some European ones. And all I wanted, as a bit of a hat tip from my dad, was for someone to make a cartridge with the specs that my dad, Harry Weisfeld, wanted. And I got to give it to Audio-Technica. I mean, we utilized the Art 9 was kind of like the base. And then from there, because we heard it, we loved it, we met with them. I went to Japan, and my dad wanted all this secret sauce to be put in there. And they put the secret sauce in, and it's so I mentioned that because that is not made in America. That is made in Japan, and will be available in November. And Shyla is the name of my daughter, so hence why we went with that name.
Can you give us the specs on the cartridge?
If my laptop was working, yes.
Okay, it's not a secret. You just don't have them at your fingertips.
Exactly, and we're gonna have it on our website very soon with it. So, and what we did as far as the changing, it's like different dampening material, different aspect with the. Well, I have to give the Japanese a lot of credit. They sent me a spec book that is like, maybe it's pages upon pages about what it is, and from that, of course, we'll share the stuff with you guys as far as what's been changed and everything else like that. But we have it all. I just that's dead. So that's something I can share with Greg, and then Greg, you could share it with the group or whatever.
Certainly, I'd be happy to do that. What do you think of click and pop removers such as the Sweet Vinyl Sugar Cube? Do you have an opinion on those?
We really like those guys. Actually, before COVID happened, one of the things we were thinking about doing was making a table with them, in the sense of having it built in. I don't know if this is stuff I'm supposed to say or not, but hey, it's my company. I can say what I want. They were going to hook us up with a unit, and we were going to work with them because on one hand, yes, you're introducing digital into the sound. But to quote my dad said, if I have a 70-year-old record that's being the shit and I just want to hear it, I don't care if there's digital in it. I want to hear my record. So yeah. That's why we think it's great for when you have that super old, super eclectic. I mean, one thing I'm actually kind of excited to use it on, this is really wild. My grandfather, I didn't know this was a thing. So my grandfather, he served and fought in World War II. Yeah. And he has a whole, and he unfortunately passed a few years back. He made record recordings to my grandma, and it's all on records. But when you listen to them, they are beaten to hell with pops and clicks. Although I guess it won't really work in that sense because of the digital. But to me, anything that can help restore something like that. Yeah. I mean, if you already have a good condition record, I'm not a fan of it. But if you have that eclectic, one-of-a-kind record, and it can help you listen to it, oh, man, that's great then.
Yeah. Yeah, I would imagine part of that is that those are probably direct lacquer cut discs.
Yeah.
Because they're kind of one-offs versus a normal sort of vinyl one. And those are going to wear, with every play, they wear pretty bad. So you really would want to clean them up, get one good recording of it, and listen to that from then on out.
Yep.
Okay, Kenny Chow has a question, and it is, for my VPI Avenger, which is a better upgrade? Avenger reference feet versus HRS isolation-based / platform? Good question.
So I have to say that our HW40 feet are the best feet that we've ever made. Now, the HRS platform is very good. I think if you were to go with, I'm sorry, you didn't ask about the HW40 feet. Which feet was it again?
It is HRS Avenger reference feet.
Yeah, yeah. So we've pretty much trickled down technology. We've put our HW40 stuff into everything at this point. If you want to go overkill, you could do both. But at the same time, the pad and foot that we use, I could take this bottle of Jack Daniels and slam it on the tabletop. It will not go through. I'm always a little apprehensive to say anything as far as the comparison because, HRS, Isoacoustics is another example. All these guys have put the work in. They all make great isolation platforms and bases and things like that. Actually, if you look at the table there, I have an Isoacoustics platform. I think your Avenger reference feet would be, if you were to upgrade to that, would be a substantial upgrade. I don't know which would be more of an upgrade, just to be honest. You'll get an upgrade either way. And this might hurt the chances of you getting the reference foot, but maybe just go with whichever one of is the better price. And I really don't know which one is. So
Yeah, thanks.
So can you upgrade any of the feet to any of the tables if you wanted to do that?
yes,
That
actually,
doesn't make sense for the entry model to put the top model's feet under it. There's probably other
it's
things
happened.
you want to go with.
My Australian distributor came out to the VPI training, and while we were doing it, he took the Avenger reference feet that we're just talking about, and he put it on was it a Cliffwood? A Cliffwood or a Player, one of the two.
Wow.
It was ridiculous, but it's doable.
I got it. What were the results? I mean, how much of an improvement did it make, and were you surprised at how well it worked?
Oh, I mean, it's all of it just makes it dead. It makes it more quiet, more suspension, quieter between the music and everything else. So it all makes a difference. Like going back to the HW40 foot, and I only mentioned that one because that one, I swear, I thought my engineer was cracking up because when he was doing the guy Mike Bettinger, when he was doing that, I go into the room and he's got a row of foam pads, different material pads, and he has his headphones on with a little mallet. And he's going through like ding, ding, ding. Oh, writes it down. Ding, ding, ding. Ooh. Now, I'm looking at it. He's an engineer, so from a business end, not exactly the cheapest worker. So I'm looking at this. I'm like, oh, Jesus, he cracked. That's it. He's lost his mind. He's playing with erasers. I'm like, you know what, Matt? The guy's never steered me wrong before. Let's let him play with those erasers. And what he did was he did a material science study of all different materials and how they relate with the aluminum and the MDF and the acrylic, and he found the right material. And it just works. These pads that we do now, I mean, you can slam a hammer against the table, it doesn't go through.
Wow. Really remarkable. I don't see any other new questions. If anyone has any questions, now would be a good time for them, or Matt can just chat at length as to whatever you'd like to talk about.
Yeah. No, I'm all yours, guys. I mean, I can talk to you guys about products, about things in the industry secrets.
I'm going to ask you a question. What have you been listening to lately? What kind of music is getting you through COVID-19?
Well, a little more heavy duty stuff, to be honest. I'd say I've definitely been listening to a bit more Metallica, Linkin Park, a little bit of Rammstein. Not a huge bit with that, but let's see what else though. On a normal day though, I actually really do like. I'm sorry, my wife is sending me a whole bunch of messages. Okay, there we go. Actually, really what I've been listening to is a lot of stuff from my daughter. My daughter loves Peter, Paul, and Mary.
That's fantastic.
So, we play a lot of that stuff. If I had a hammer, that song, she loves that. So I play that for her. I played, oh my God, I can visualize I can see the record jacket. I can't think of her name. Vanessa. Anyway, a lot of vocal type things. Let's see what else. My daughter actually loves Linkin Park. The Meteor album. And she comes up to me. She likes to dance. So I think it's like when she likes normal type music, she likes listening to Peter, Paul, and Mary. She likes the Beatles. Because, I mean, hey, anyone who's a parent out there, you know how it goes. Once you have a kid, it's all about the kid. So
I have a nephew, and I've been combing record stores for Disney albums. I totally understand how that works.
Yeah. But when she wants to dance, she comes up to me. She's 2.5.
Yeah.
She also loves to be naked. It's nice to be 2.5. She comes up to me naked, and she just she'll shake her butt. She'll be like, Daddy, dance, dance. That's her way of saying she wants to listen to Linkin Park and dance to Linkin Park.
Matt, can I ask you a question? It's slightly off the trail, but I'm just kind of curious. Fuses have become a big part of hi-fi tuning. I know you don't necessarily use fuses in your turntables, but do you have any comment on some of the fuses? I've used them in my system, and I've got a tremendous amount of improvement, yet no one can really explain why.
So we had I'm just going to say the brand. We were working with, not working with, I was in Munich last year with Synergistic Research. Now, I don't know anyone's opinions upon it or anything, and they deal a lot with fuses. And my dad and I were sitting at the bar, and Ted Denny comes to me. He was like, so we go in there, and he did the whole thing with the fuses, with the dots, with the everything. And God damn, it sounded good. Like, I heard it. My dad and I were the same thing. And now, guys, I don't know if it made an impact. I don't know if it was psychoacoustics. And what I told him was, Ted, I don't know if you just changed the room or if it was psychoacoustics. And now he was starting to, and I'm like, no, that's okay. Because at this high, once you get to a high-end point, I feel even if it's psychoacoustics, if it makes your listening experience better, what the hell? It's worth it. You know, that room, to me, as he made the changes from a, mental, brain level, whatever you want to call it, I enjoyed it more. And now, and keep in mind, because of this, I'm looking at my dad like I'm like, that was good. I look at him like, that was good, right? My dad's like, yeah, I know you're not crazy, man. I'm hearing it too. So whether it was making an actual impact with the fuses, the dots, the whatever, or if it was psychoacoustics, either way, it made it better. It made the experience better. Because I do feel like there's a big difference between the listening and the experience. Like, was the music better or did I enjoy it more? Because if you have somebody who, Kosecki and Vandenhull I mentioned before, great example. Vandenhull to me is a more dynamic and exciting cartridge. The Kosecki is a more romantic cartridge. Actually, I tell everybody, if you like romantic type sound signature, get a Kosecki. But that means if you like a romantic sound, it doesn't mean that Vandenhull's wrong. It just means it's wrong for your experience. So going back to the whole psychoacoustics, where you could have a Vandenhull or Kosecki completely dialed in just right, and you're going to hate it because it's not your experience. So going back to the psychoacoustics, if it makes the experience better, again, I don't know. All I know is the guy changed the fuse, and holy shit, it sounded more open to me. Was it a world of a difference? I can't say it was. But did I enjoy my experience more? Yeah, maybe it was all the alcohol he fed us, but or maybe it was just the fuse. But guys, I don't get it. I don't understand it. I've heard it. I can't bash it. And yeah, and if it helps your experience, guys, go for it.
It seems like it was with cables, speaker cables many years ago. The same thing, but it's now gone to fuses.
Yes. Yeah, that's accurate.
Thank you, Matt.
No problem.
Leslie, you had something to say, I believe.
I was just asking Matt about the age of his daughter, and he told us that already.
Oh, sorry.
So when is
And
your
she's so cute.
What does your wife do?
She's due the beginning of November, and she is very pregnant right now.
Fantastic.
Is she having a girl or a boy?
Another girl. I'm gonna be severely outnumbered.
Awesome. So you're going to have two budding female audiophiles, right?
Exactly. And Shyla is such a little ham. Yesterday, I'm doing the TD Bank thing. I'm in the middle of my factory, and out of nowhere, I hear the noise. It's her, and I hear like, Daddy, Daddy, and she walks in. She's the boss, and she walked in, ignores the fact that there's the cameras and all the people, and she just runs up to me. She's like, Daddy, hold me, and she just hops in my lap, and I'm like, hey guys, this is my daughter.
Daddy's
Last year
girl.
at Capitol Audio Fest, she did the same thing. We're doing a press event. I have Stereophile, The Absolute Sound, part-time audiophile. I've got all the press guys in our room, and the same thing happened. She flung the door open, and I just remember I was pointing at something, and I'm like, as my daughter comes in, and she just walks right up, all cameras turn on her, and she's like, "Daddy, hold me."
That's so cute.
I hope you have some video of these things, because I know they're just wonderful things to have later on.
Oh God, I've got my phone right now. I have no data left I have no space in my phone because it's all my daughter.
Yeah.
So yeah, videos, pictures. I can't stop. She's so cute, and she loves music. I love that she sits and listens with me.
That's
She just
fantastic.
comes and sits
Awesome.
down. There's a picture. It's my Facebook. I think it's my Facebook banner right now, and somebody thought it was a BS marketing picture. We don't really do that stuff. Actually, that guy Joe I showed you from Wolf Audio, he took the picture. It was last year's Rocky Mountain show. My wife and I are sitting in the room. It was Rido with Sim Audio, Nordost, and a VPI HW40. I'm sitting on one side. My wife's on the other side. My daughter's right smack dab in the middle. And we were just listening. And we listened to the whole, and my daughter's like, wow, having a blast. And then, the guy Joe took the picture. He said to me, I put it up, and some guy you can find this on Twitter. Somebody actually posted like, oh, look at this bullshit marketing picture with the stereotypical child, and made a comment about my wife being Asian, about how like, oh, look, the guy's got the mail ordered Chinese wife. And I'm like, what the hell? So I responded saying, actually, that was not a marketing picture. And thank you for thinking so highly of my beautiful wife. And so the guy was like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I was like, yeah, that's actually my kid. And that was a real picture. So it's just so cool with that stuff.
Something happens when they say the quiet part out loud, right?
Oh, yes. And hey, you know what? I think we've all had those moments of being a little bit of a keyboard warrior.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a level where people don't really think about there being a real person on the other end when they write.
Yep.
How does your wife do with all the gear and all the music? She support
Oh,
it?
she loves it. Actually, one of the coolest moments. I come home from the factory. Now, my wife's an amazing cook. She cooks like all traditional Chinese food. Everybody requests her dumplings. She just makes the best dumplings.
Mm-hmm.
And in my apartment, before, I don't think we were married yet. We were living in an apartment at the time, and I was spinning an HRX, so one of our big tables.
Mm-hmm.
And I come home from the factory, and geez, my wife is playing the system, the HRX. She's making dumplings. And it's like, sweetie, can you flip the record? And I'm like, this is awesome. It was just, it was like, the dumplings are almost done. And I'm like, I'm coming home to music. She had a whiskey for me, and it was just but I mean, she it's not like just for me. She enjoys it too. She's an audiophile. She loves listening to music. She pre-children. She liked drinking. So I found a good pair. She loves all that stuff. And actually, what I thought was really funny, when I downgraded, because the HRX was too big of a system and a table for that room that I had. So I ended up dialing back to our Prime. And when that happened, she was so pissed. She was just like, I really like that HRX. Can we put the HRX back? I'm like, you're so cool, And actually, we still have, I have an HRX in our basement that one day, well, once you have kids, all the things go out the window. I was going to set up this nice little listening room, and now every day it's more about Baby Shark and all that stuff first.
Yeah.
So have you thought about how to get more women involved in high-end audio?
So that's a good question. And guys, shield your ears. I'm insult you all. No, I'm kidding. No, I think the biggest issue is when people go like, oh, it's a girl. I think that like that's got to just stop, because like it's I just think being inclusive, and whether it's a girl, whether it's a young kid. So I had a moment at one of the audio shows where this kid, he's 20-something years old, nobody would let him play his record. Now, I knew him because we communicated on Facebook. He was like a 24-year-old kid who owned an HRX, a $15,000 turntable, $30,000 speakers, all this other stuff, just because and it's not like his mommy and daddy bought it. It was like he bought it. He was successful. No one would deal with him. I think what has to happen is people have to get off all stereotypes. Whether you're a young kid, whether you're a girl, whether you're whatever you are, if you love music, awesome. And then if it is a girl, it's like, whoa, pretty, can I touch? Like, I had that happen. So guys, I'm going to tell you all why we have the VP. Okay, this is just one room. Actually, this room's a mess right now. But the reason we have the VPI house is because my original home, my dad was living in. Then after my mom died, he moved out. So we had this big house that had nobody in it. So I'm like, hey, Dad, either we sell it, we move in, or we make it a listening experience. So we do. It becomes a listening experience. My wife and I move in eventually and all that stuff. So, and my wife and I live there now. And our last audio event, I think it was the New York Audio Society, there was this guy, this big, I mean, like a really big guy. And he comes up to me. My wife is standing probably about where that stand is. And he comes up to me, and I'm sure he meant it as a compliment. He's like, your wife's really pretty.
Oh, so creepy.
And my first thought, I swear to God, my martial arts senses were going off. I wanted to like punch this guy in the throat. It was just really, and I'm like, thanks. Then I go up to the head of the society, and I go up to him, and you know, I'm gonna be blunt. I'm like, who the fuck is that guy? Like, yeah, he's a little weird. He's an outlier. We're probably not gonna have him back. I'm like, well, thanks for having him to my house. Like, what the hell, man? And my wife was like 2 months pregnant with Shiloh when this happened. Shiloh's name, my daughter. And all I could think about, and I'm just like, I've got my beautiful tiny wife who's pregnant with my daughter, and this big stranger is like drooling over her. Come on, you know. I think what would really help the industry is if we all just look past whether it's gender, whether it's youth, whether it's whatever. If you're a girl, awesome, cool. You know, I think it would be more of like oh, well, you know what? I really don't like your taste of music. Like, or, you know, like that to me is more of a conversation. The fact of like, ooh, girl, you know, it's
Yep.
and so I think doing things like that, and I almost feel like it's counterproductive. I could be wrong on this part. And Jane and I have talked about it. She feels it's kind of weird when it's like a pedestal situation of, guys, it's a girl. We got a girl in the group. Everybody get out here. And I'm sure you guys have seen that on Facebook where I actually had someone reach out to me, and I won't say the names because it's on Facebook. Or maybe you guys know. Someone reached out to me because there was a girl who joined a group, and everybody fawned over the situation. And now in this specific situation, this female was like, sweet. They're all fawning over on me. Then someone reached out to me. He's like, you know, Matt, you should really think about hooking her up with a free VPI table. And I'm like, why?
Yeah.
You know, and I flat out, I said like, okay, you know, and we've done things like that from time to time. Like it's not really a free table, it'd be like a long-term loan if it's a review thing, if it's a marketing thing. And then I'm just like, well, who is she? Is she someone famous? Is she doing something? Like I had this whole and the guy was like, well, you know what? She can really do a lot. And I'm like, well, I won't say what I actually said to the guy. It was a little crass about the anatomy of like, oh, just because she has this anatomy, all of a sudden it's a free, like, what are you doing? And it was literally just a human being who happened to be a girl, you know? So I think that has to stop as well, as far as like, you know, if a female's in there, it's like, everybody drop everything and let's put all the attention on this one person, you know, because like my wife has said, she just thinks it's kind of annoying and weird.
Yeah, there is an aspect where I've watched people get talked down to because of their gender on more than a few occasions.
Yeah, and also being inclusive. I don't care if you're a kid, a girl, or whatever you are. I'm going to let you play at my turntable. People think I'm nuts when I don't let Shiloh queue up a turntable yet. She's too little. But if she wants to touch the gear and play with the gear, and I've had people come over to do listening events, like because we have guys, girls, whatever. I'll be, oh, hey, cue it up, and like, oh, are you sure? I don't like. It'll be a girl like doing the whole like, but I'm just a girl. I'm like, I don't care. What if I wipe the cartridge? And I'll be like, well, then I guess we have one less cartridge. You know, so I think that to help grow the industry, it's got to be more inclusive. You have to let people feel comfortable touching the gear, experiencing the gear, talking about it without that, be it talking down or overly praising. So I think that would help grow it for younger audiences and all genders and everything.
Well, you know what? I have 3 sons that they're now in their 20s, but when they were in college, the most interesting thing is that when they're in the dorms, the people that had turntables the most were the girls.
Yep.
It's very interesting. So pretty consistently, the girls that they knew were listening to vinyl, not as many as boys. So it's a strange phenomenon. So there are a lot of girls interested. It's just a matter of kind of keeping them in the fold. And I don't know if you market to that demographic, like what's your lowest priced turntable?
So our lowest one is the Cliffwood. That one's $1,000. And I actually did that because of an ego thing. There was a certain company that may or may not have, somebody ripped off my turntable, like literally right off the machine shop's shelf. And that table's still out there today. I stopped beating them up though because they changed the design. My issue was that initially they just flat out stole it. Once they made the changes, then I was like, hey, it's a free country. Anyone can make a turntable. But in the midst of it, I had an ego trip because their big thing was the cheapest turntable made in America. By the way, I'm not talking about U-Turn Audio. That they're much cheaper. That's nothing to do with them. But they made a big deal. So then I'm like, okay, you guys stole my design. Why not? We're going to make a cheaper turntable in America. Hence why we call it the Cliffwood, because part of the marketing was like, yeah, the Cliffwood turntable made in Cliffwood, New Jersey in America. Screw you guys. Then, of course, I took a bit of a step back because, we all have a knee-jerk emotional moment. Then, but from the marketing standpoint, that's the thing. I kind of just market to everybody. I market to if you love music type of thing. If whether whoever it is, actually the person they're doing a demo for right now, I don't know if she's here yet or not. It's a woman. She's coming here to do a demo. She bought a VPI Prime Signature in Rosewood with a Vanden Hull, I think it was a $6,000 cartridge.
Beautiful.
And guys, I'm just going to tell you the story. I don't know if she's here or not, but part of the reason she's doing this was because her boyfriend, and all the gentlemen here take note. No, basically her boyfriend talked out her ex-boyfriend kept talking down to her about this whole situation, and the whole thing was just like, no, you can't touch my turntable. It wasn't a VPI. This is in the past, and because when I talked to her, we were just BSing. I mean, how I'm talking to all of you guys is how I talk to people in general. This is me, love me or hate me, and I'm talking to her about this stuff, and she just goes. What she said was, I want to buy a turntable. I want to buy my own fucking turntable with my own fucking money, and like that kind of thing. And I'm like, well, cool. I don't care. That's if that's what you want, we're gonna hook you up. And then she's like, this Rosewood's beautiful. Like, perfect. There we go. And so now, I mean, she's looking for her speakers. She has to do a demo, and that's why the guys are here to get it all nice and safe set up. And I think she's listening to a pair of KEF reference speakers and a pair of T+A speakers, and she's I believe now just a single woman looking to get a high-end system.
That's great. Somebody earlier asked you to go ahead and tell us a little bit about your system at home. So since you kind of segued into that, can you elaborate a little bit?
Sure. So you're gonna laugh. My actual system at home that I really use, it's a basic VPI player. I use a VPI player with a pair of powered KEF LS50s with a bit of a hodgepodge of cables. It was originally Nordos Red Dawn. Then I stole it for a VPI event. But that's the system that stays consistent. That's in my office system at home. That's the system I listen to the most. I'm not counting the VPI house systems. They always change. It'll be a crazy system wherever. So the main home system for me is a white VPI player with white KEF LS50s, isoacoustic speaker stands because they are desktop, and then a hodgepodge of cables. Then downstairs, I've got actually a Shinola table. It was one of the bastard ones that they screwed up with, and so it's a little messed up, but I don't care. So I have a Shinola table going through a Peachtree integrated amp with, again, a bit of a hodgepodge of Nordos cable and like Home Depot cable, and a pair of Martin Logan electrostats. Actually, they are the earlier models of those Martin Logans, and that's in my living room. I really like the Martin Logans because Shyla can, like, literally, Shyla loves to climb and sit right there on them. That is not these, but the ones that we have at home. That is Shyla's seat. If you can't find her, she's probably sitting behind the electrostats. So, yeah, that's my main home system. I have my HRX turntable in the basement that I'll one day set up. I used to have the JBL Everest speakers at the house, but that was ridiculous. They were only there because they were so damn heavy that we just didn't move them. Now they're moved. We finally did it. We got a truck, and they're here at the VPI house.
Okay, well, I think we have to wrap up in just a couple minutes. If anybody else has other questions, Matt, you should come on one of our Friday Zoom happy hours. Have some drinks.
Wait, what does that mean? Tell me more.
I know you're on the. It would be late for you. You may get a head start on us, but that would be even more fun. Every Friday we have a happy hour from 5 to 7
Pacific time.
Pacific time.
So wait, you guys talk and drink at the same time?
Yep. We just talk about whatever we want.
Oh, here we go. Oh my Lord! I just missed and hit my laptop. Oh my
Yeah,
God!
so
It's okay, it's not charged.
No, I would love to. Oh my God, look at some paper towels. I would love to join you all for that. Even though it'll be a little later, that is totally fine. I'm just getting a paper towel to wipe up my laptop.
Yeah,
but
a fun group. So
We'll
yeah,
put you on our email list.
Yep.
No, please do. I mean, if I'm around, I'd be more than happy to join you guys. You guys have been a great group. I hope I didn't ramble on too much, and that you guys got some good stuff out of this.
No, this was fantastic.
Great.
We love the personal stories. We're really impressed
yeah,
with everything you did.
Thank you.
Keep up the good work.
Yes, indeed.
Oh, and one last question, if I may throw in. So as your mother and father were both involved in VPI, do you see your wife eventually becoming as involved in VPI as your mother was?
Oh man, I'd be dead without my wife. She's my office manager. We're actually freaking out right now because the only time. So here's another quick story. If it's okay time wise, VPI was at its height right before my daughter was born, and then we went through hell when my wife and I were. My wife is very good and very organized. We had a situation with a former dealer. Some of you may have remembered that dealer from a few years ago that screwed everyone in the industry, the guy out of Pennsylvania. And it's the kind of thing where my wife is so good that had she been around, she would have caught it. Unfortunately, it wasn't caught. But no, she's my office manager. Well, when I was dating her, I was going to take her out to lunch. She comes in because I was a one-man army doing the office, the shipping, the everything. And I did one of those, oh, sweetie, sit down at my desk real quick. Give me 5 minutes, blah, blah, blah. And then by 5 minutes turned into like 30 minutes. I had no idea. My wife, when she was in China, she was an accountant. So she's not a practicing accountant now, but she knows this stuff. And so I get back and she was just like, oh, I'm sorry, baby, but I hope it's okay. I found that you're losing $30 a month because of X, Y, and Z. And I'm like, look at the paper like, holy shit, you're right. You want to look at more of my paperwork? This is back when we were dating. And then she kind of started helping me out part-time. And I know I have people who ask me all the time how I can work with my wife or how. I love it. I think it's great. You know, we're good at keeping things separate. We never yell at each other. And, it's made things better because the only real fight that my wife, not only, but hey, we all have moments, but I came home from the factory one day when we were dating and we got into it because I had a bad day. She didn't understand. And it was about an Aries turntable. Fast forward 1 year later, I'm just really paraphrasing it. And same situation was an Aries. I'm driving home with my girlfriend / now wife. And I'm going on, God damn it, this and blah, 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 the freaking Aries. And then my girlfriend, Jane, starts laughing. And I'm like, why are you laughing? And Jane's like, because I understand everything you're talking about now, and I'm just as pissed as you. And it's nice of like, oh, and it was, that moment just stood out because that like, the next thing I wasn't so mad. I was just like, you're the best. And she was like, you're the best. Yeah, let's beat that dealer up tomorrow together.